Hello, everybody. And as I've been saying the last few weeks, oi, gente, I'm still in Brazil. Eu já estou no Brasil. And this is our last few days leading up to 2025. What? That's crazy. There's so many things that I want to talk about today. So I think it'll be a quick and dirty fusion of how we can reflect on our last year and how we can use that to step into our next year. And then the next Powerful Stuff episode will really be about using the 2025 Blueprint for Power, which will actually be a free workshop that I'm leading virtually on January 6th. So if you're like, Mare, let's hang out in real time, IRT, right? Then we can do that. So this episode will really be about how you can reflect on the last year. I'll do some of my reflections with you, of course, never going to leave you hanging. And then how we can tap into the feeling. And guys, as I'm telling you this, I just want to let you know that I am trying to practice what I preach right now as well. Everything I'm telling you is like a remembering for myself in a big way, like a re-initiation of all of this. So we're kind of going through it together. And the journey's never over, right? Whether you've done it once or you're a coach or you lead things on this, like it keeps showing up for you and it keeps showing up for me. I should say as well, or what I mean to say. And that each time it's about, okay, there's another layer of deepness I can explore here. Okay, there's, a new angle to notice here. Okay, it's inviting me to have more humility or more compassion with myself, or it's a reminder to slow down and give myself compassion. And slowing down, releasing expectation, and having self-compassion have been 3 huge things for me this year. So with that being said, today we're going to kind of just reflect on some of the big lessons from 2024, and then we'll go into how we want to feel in 2025, and we'll go even deeper next week. So don't you worry. Okay, good. So 2024 for me, my word for last year, gosh, I forget what my word at the beginning of the year was, but my word in the middle of the year was compound. Like I wanted everything I do to compound. I feel like my 20s and somewhat into my 30s was kind of like a candy store, trying all these different things and giving myself permission to explore a lot of different things, but kind of feeling maybe that they each were like their own isolated experience. And I know that they would all eventually come back together. The dots would eventually connect. But this year, my 33, my Jesus year, as they say, because it was the year Jesus was resurrected and comes back to himself, remembers his purpose. So if you're not 33 yet, something to look forward to. And if you've already passed it, congrats. You're even, deeper on that journey. So yeah, my word the middle of the year was compound, of like, how can all of the different things that I'm doing uniquely A, feed into my offering, and B, contribute to like what I want to do in the world. And I think it really was spurred when, as I've talked about in past episodes, some of you might know that before Powerful Stuff Days, I co-founded More of That with my friend Eric, and we had, that earlier iteration of what Powerful Stuff now is. Of course, Powerful Stuff is my own spin on it, also with some self-development and coaching stuff and a little bit more comedy. But More of That, was really like a place that we wanted to, or events rather, that we wanted to create for people to help them, connect more with themselves, connect more with others. And it was really like our foray into community building, into the playful state is the powerful state. And we had a podcast too, where we interviewed community builders. And for various personal reasons around long-term goals in the middle of the year, Eric and I went our separate ways. And of course, when you build anything with a friend, it can be, super painful when you let it go, even if it's on the best of circumstances, because it's like both of your babies, right? You're like parents getting a divorce, getting joint custody, even if you ended on good terms. And so it was really kind of looking at more of that and like what parts of this are super true to me. And then what do I want to carry forth? How can I bring that even more into like what Meredith Baker is doing, right? So it was kind of like a blessing in disguise, in the sense of like, it's so much a part of me, and it allowed me to really like give myself full permission to put all what I was doing and more of that into Powerful Stuff. So I brought, Best Morning Ever, the event series I had created under More of That, of yoga, meditation, journaling, breathwork on the beach, all before 7:30. all before 8:30 a.m. I brought that under powerful stuff. I focused on my podcast efforts onto powerful stuff. And so all of that energy, I feel like kind of was redirected back. And it wasn't for naught, right? I had a lot of beautiful learnings from more of that. We built a lot of great community. I'm so grateful for those memories with Eric, what I learned from him, what I learned building more of that. But then it was kind of like that word of compound of how can I bring these things back to Meredith Baker, even more so, right? And powerful stuff encapsulates so much of what I love, like, self-development, self-reflection, comedy. I like to think I'm funny. Hopefully, we can all agree on that. It's okay if you don't, though. But playfulness, lightheartedness, and also community building and putting the events that I would host under more of that, like the workshops or some of the variety shows with music, comedy, connection under Powerful Stuff, which now became Powerful Stuff Live, which we've hosted at Moss, who we've also had on the Powerful Stuff podcast. So full circle. So anyways, that was, compound. I guess I just dove right in, guys. We just dove right into the deep end together because we're just so comfortable like that, like fuck the small talk. So compound was one for this year. I look back at the more of that thing and I really think about that. And also I think another thing with that, not just compounding and living in more in alignment, but like, what is a truth I could tell myself? What is my intuition telling me? Do I feel fully lit up doing this? And I think toward the end, because we kind of knew we had different visions, like maybe we both held on a little bit longer than we would have otherwise, because we didn't want to let the other person down, because it was this beautiful thing that we built together. So I think but like sometimes with stuff like that and other things this year too, like the signs are there. And it's like, if I, was giving myself a tough love conversation about like something I'm holding on to or a conversation I'm avoiding, like what would that be? And what would I say? And why am I afraid of having that? Right? Because time is precious. And the more quickly we can honor our intuition, of course, with grace, with clarity, the more we strengthen our self-trust, and also the more time we spend doing what we love. So I think that was another lesson I learned from that. And then I think a third one is, imagining best case scenario with anything, right? If anything is shifting or changing or coming to an end, imagining what the best case scenario would feel like writing out your ideal scene. So versus you just like letting it play out and just reacting to it, I think like, how do I want to feel when this is all said and done? Being loosely, having a loose vision of what that could look like on a tactical level, but how do I want to feel on the other side of this? How do I want to feel when I think back about this thing? How do I want to feel when I'm then redirecting my energy? And just kind of having that foresight and having a little bit of that intentionality, so you feel like you're responding to the situation versus reacting to it. And I don't think that was a lesson I learned this year. I actually think that's something I'm really proud of this year that I did, that I was able to do in that situation and other situations. So versus, reacting is when we're really kind of letting life come at us full force and feeling like we're the victim to it, or feeling like we don't have control over it. Responding is like thinking about how we want to feel and then reverse engineering that from that place, which we'll get into more with 2025. So I think that was a few lessons that I had from more of that, and going into powerful stuff. And then I think also, I had, some Burning Man lessons, which I talked to you guys about, which I feel like again, we keep getting hit with lessons that we need to learn a few different ways. And that is okay, because some of these lessons are just so juicy. We just don't want to glaze over them, right? Or you take algebra 1 and then you take algebra 2, then you take calculus, how it goes. Anyway, so I feel like Burning Man was a great reminder of like committing to the decision that you make and being like, this was the best decision ever, versus wondering, should we have stayed longer? Should we have done this? Or even on the micro level each day of, should I have gone to this party, or should I have stayed with these friends? Because Burning Man is such a amazing playground of energy, and hashtag Burning Man problems. These are like such good problems to have. But I think, it's like a petri dish of like pronounced things, of letting go of expectation, and trusting and holding the vibration. I've said this a few times before. Drop expectation, hold the vibration. So what I mean by that is, the day that I had the best day ever at Burning Man was when I was just doing whatever the fuck I wanted, which, as we all know, was going to the Taylor Swift party at Burning Man and like singing All Too Well from an art car to everybody in the audience and like making all these new Swiftie friends and exchanging friendship bracelets, then running into my college bestie roommate Anna and her cousin. Shout out Anna if you're listening. And then going into the playa with her and doing a sunset meditation and having this really sweet roommate moment and this really nice moment like with her cousin, meeting other parts of her world. And so all of that's to say, like, when I was in flow like that and just doing what I wanted and not worried about like where I should be meeting others or what are other people doing without me, right? I felt the most expressed. I had the best time, even though, some people might say going to a Taylor Swift party at Burning Man is like, everyone there wants to, or not everyone, but a lot of people like their, Tulum jungle beats. So it's not as popular, let's say, as it is in other parts of the country at other points in time. But yeah, it was just like unapologetically owning my truth in that moment, which was going to a Taylor Swift party at Burning Man. So, oh my gosh. And then so much magic happened from that. I think I told you guys, but like, I gave a little girl my hat during the 22 song, which if you've been to the Eras tour, shout out to those of you listening who have been to the Eras tour, you know that during the 22 song, she gives a hat to a little kid at the end of the stage, during the interlude of 22. And I did that to a 12-year-old girl at Burning Man. I gave her my hat. And then her mom found me on Instagram a week later because she follows my friend Aliki. Again, shout out Aliki if you're listening. Okay, I swear this is the last shout out I'll do for the next few minutes at least. But no, I'll try to cut it back, guys. But yeah, she follows my friend Aliki and saw our Venice Girlies videos that we do together. And yeah, that was so funny because then the mom tracked me down on Instagram because like we didn't exchange names or anything, right? It was just like my face appeared in her feed. And she's like, that made our Burning Man, that was such a highlight for us. And I was like, that was such a highlight for me. And again, it was just this like great positive reaffirmation of like when you do drop expectation, when you do unapologetically do what's best for you, when you aren't thinking about what other people are doing or if you're missing out, the universe rewards you with the most magical experiences. And I think that I've had a continuation of that on this trip, right? I'm still working on it on this trip. To be honest, I feel like the first 2 months of it have been so incredible in many ways, but I'm also still like hitting my flow. I think, part of my personality wants to like, try to have everything happen. Once I'm like in a country, I'm like, we need to see all of the different sites and we need to do all the different things. But then the other part of me is like, slow down. Let's just be in one place. Let's learn a new like community. Let's have the local restaurant that we go to. Let's like really focus on being still with ourselves, And so I think the first half of the trip was a lot of moving around and it was so great in some ways. But then not facing resistance around that or being annoyed or making myself feel like, oh, I'm not getting the kind of slowness that I want, right? Because I still have the second half of the trip and I can have both. So I think expectation, and then I felt shame around feeling that on such an incredible trip where everyone's like, oh my God, it looks so amazing. You must be having the best time, right? Then I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm being such a little brat for having these like resistance feelings around like the trip that I've already had when it is so great, versus what I would tell my freaking clients of like, accept and enjoy it. Like enjoy what you've already had and also accept the parts that like you learned from, and how are you going to shift it moving forward, right? I say like an anecdote for getting out of expectation, which I've mentioned a few times, is acceptance plus choice. So going on an acceptance rampage of everything that you accept, both what you would label as a good and the bad, but accepting both from a place of, neutrality. And then what is my choice from here? How can I double click on the things that I want to continue doing? And what is my grateful lesson from the things that maybe I'll shift in the future, but they had to happen the way they did and I accept it, and I allow myself to feel my feels and also yes, and the, the good and the complicated emotions around it. So I feel like Burning Man was a great kind of kickoff of that lesson, if you will. And then the trip has really helped bring that home, bring that lesson home. And I think that those were two big ones. And then I would be remiss if I didn't mention the stuff that I'm working on with Spencer right now. I think I've told you guys in some episodes, we've had a few reoccurring themes in our fights, or as our couples coach calls them, like gridlock patterns. And I'm only going to talk about, what I've learned from my side of the street with these. Of course, I'm really proud of the progress that we've made, and Rome wasn't built in a day, especially in relationships, right? When they feel like the most intimate, delicate parts of you, and you've done things for 3 decades one way, and all of a sudden this other person's like literally a mirror to you. I feel like relationships are like free coaching 24/7, because you're constantly being confronted with how you want to show up and the energy that you bring to the relationship. Right. And I think I've mentioned this a few times because it just really hits. My friend Kieran said, we get the energy that we bring to a relationship. So if you show up triggered, guess what? They're going to be triggered as well. So it's kind of like, it starts with me. I guess I have to be the bigger person. But if both of you come at it with that mentality, then guess what? The relationship radically improves. So all of that's to say, with my side of the stuff from the things I've been learning on with Spencer. And someone once told me that like your first year of marriage is like a rite of passage, because it's kind of like, you fully commit to life with each other. And then it's part of like your subconscious shadow side being, let me really test them. Let me show them my deepest, darkest patterns, or like my most annoying things, to really prove that I'm enough and that they're not going anywhere. Right. So like, I've heard from some people, and I'm curious if you guys think this is true, if you're married or have heard this as well. But yeah, that first 2 years are really like a rite of passage where all of that stuff gets ironed out, right? Because before you're married, you're dating, and it does feel like a little bit more like, oh, well, I could just leave at any moment. Like I'm committing and continuing to commit and choose this person every day, which is, what you should do when you're married anyways. So all of that's to say, I think long-winded way of getting to my point of what I've learned with Spencer this year is you can't change somebody's mind and don't expect them to change. And you have to unconditionally love them just as they are. And, the more you try to change their mind, the more it's going to have the reverse effect. And sometimes you just need to take time to yourself, and that's okay, to like recalibrate, to recenter in your power. And instead of getting defensive, right? I talked last week about projections. Instead of getting defensive when you feel like someone's projecting onto you, take some time to yourself, right? Because when we're in defensive mama bear mode, that doesn't help anyone. Take some time to yourself, recommit to the things that bring you your power, whether it's your movement, hiking, talking to a friend. It's not weakness to remove yourself from the fight. It's okay to say, like, I need a breather, I need to recenter, and then we can talk about this later. Use that spare time to reconnect to your power and to feel in your power, because the more you feel that, the more they feel that. And that's going to be the magnetic thing versus you defending yourself, which then, as I mentioned before, has the opposite boomerang effect. And Shola Richards talks about this on our podcast a few weeks ago. So I think those are really the things, like choosing, getting up, choosing your partner each day, not expecting them to change, not loving them when this thing is sorted out. And then, of course, it's communicating, being clear with our needs, but it's also being okay to take that break if you need it. It's also not proving yourself, but instead doing the things that connect you to your power, versus kind of feeling like there was times where I'm like, oh, he's kicking me while I'm down, and how dare he? And then I'd like sit and fester, where it's like he's in his patterns, right? He's just beginning some of his emotional journey with his emotions coach. And so, and I'm not perfect either. And so it's like, I know, like, and as a coach, I would tell clients, like, they're in their own pattern. You don't need to react to it or take it personally. But when I'm in it, obviously it's easier said than done. I don't need to take it personally. And I can see that he's in a pattern and not get reactive, and know that I'm also probably in a pattern, and like, let me remove myself and feel really like feel more centered about this. And then come back to it from that place of more neutrality. So I think that those are some big things. I'll round it out with like 2 more. And then I'll tell you how you can do it too. Hopefully some of my musings have resonated with you, helped you out along the way. I don't know why I did that. Maybe it's just because we're like getting it all out, as the Beatles would say, let it out to let it in. And Hey Jude, how powerful. So the other things I would say is, I think something that I've continued to work on this year, and it's continued to be a deepening for me. And I'm so much better than when I went where I was in the past. And and I'm so grateful always for all of my wonderful friends, but it's to continue to trust in my belonging and trust in my enoughness. It showed up a few ways this year, right? Like when you're kind of shifting communities and you're going into new communities, and then you're like introducing different friends into communities, or they're introducing you. And of course, like sometimes all of you will hang out together, and sometimes like they'll have their individual hangouts and you'll have your individual hangouts. And like, kind of like not taking it personally if you're not invited to everything, and instead like focusing on being the catalyst to the events and the communities that you do want to create. And I think I've reminded myself of this, of like really great friends that I'm so grateful to like be connected to and be growing in friendship with. And then I think I've also reminded myself on the other side of that, like if there are people that I don't feel like amazing hanging out with, I don't need to like try to maintain the friendship just because it's like the status quo, or because like I feel like there's that like middle school Meredith part of me that's like, well, I want to belong in this Venice group. Like I want to get the invite to these Venice crew, or I want them to think I'm cool too. Right. And it's like an ego thing. And it's like, I might not even like, we might not even have that much in common, or we might not even like, just like be on the same vibe, no like rhyme or reason, both great and different. But it's like, I don't need to try to like force those things just because I want to feel included. It's like, instead of wanting to feel included, giving myself that sense of belonging through like noting the things and the people that do make me feel really good, and then proactively reaching out to those people, and kind of keeping everything else as out of sight, out of mind if I'm not invited to something, like literally not taking it personally. Or as Mel Robbins says, and I constantly remind myself of this, let them, right? It's like if they're going to hang out with you, hang out without you, let them. If they're going to go do this other thing that you don't like to do, let them, right? It's like the ultimate acceptance and release of not thinking about those things, and instead doing things that are going to make your inner child or your inner middle schooler or teenager feel more seen. And ultimately that's going to be what's like magnetic. And so I've really like reminded myself of that this year. Of course, it's so funny because I'm a coach, I'm a community builder. Like I have so many great communities of friends, and still when I don't take time to like acknowledge myself, give myself that inner cultivation of belonging, right? Nurture that inner world. I find myself having those thoughts, and this is a great remembering to come back to, a reminder, if you will. So I think that's been a good thing. And obviously it's shown up in a different shade this year with coming on the trip, right? Like going on the trip for 4.5 months means that I'm going to miss a few bachelorettes. I'm going to miss a few friends' weekends that I would otherwise be going to with like a few of my besties, and I'll be like the one missing. Like that means my friends back in LA are going to do New Year's Eve like together, and I won't be there, And so it's so funny because I was catching up with a few friends from LA last week, and they were like telling me all of these plans that they were doing with my other friends, and I could feel that middle school Meredith being like, fuck, like, oh, that sounds so great that you guys are all doing that thing together. Yay. And inside I was like, they're all hanging out without me. But it's so funny because it was during the shadow week for the upgrade, which is all about making our subconscious conscious and having a little fun, playful moment around it versus having shame around it. So I was like, okay, I'm being asked to walk the fire here yet again. I know belonging is one of my biggest triggers. So like, okay, that's that like middle school Meredith that loves to like just distract from where we are to search for evidence that she doesn't belong because she, part of her loves feeling like the odd one out. Because then it's attention in a way, right? Or then it's like, woe is me, like this like main character of this melodrama. So I kind of gave that inner Meredith compassion. First, I like gave her like compassion, let her feel those feelings. And then I like kind of did that sexy, well, I don't know if you'd call it sexy, but playful shadow work on it. Playful, sexy, why not? Shadow work on it. And then I was able to recommit to the present moment of like, they're there. And I'm so grateful and happy that I have friends that like continue to hang out. And it's like, I'm here. And as my coach, Dan, shout out Dan, said like and reminded me like, how can I be my best travel companion? Cause like, everyone who I'm catching up with was like, we miss you. And it's so good to hear your voice and your trip looks amazing. It's like, how could I make my grass greener here versus like look for reasons to like kind of feed that older story that I no longer resonate with of like not belonging, right? It's like, how can I make this the best trip ever? And like, I'm going to really reconnect to Meredith because when I'm in LA, it's so great that I have so many great friends to hang out with, but maybe I'm a little distracted from quality time with myself. So like, and I've been wanting to really sit with and meditate on like that next version of powerful stuff, that next version of my coaching. So like, what if I use this time to really do that, come back with even more stronger conviction in myself and who I am and bring that back to LA? How magnetic is that? And how good will I feel hanging out with my friends? And like spending time with other people that like inspire me in that way. And if I really feel like I've gotten that quota of time, how can I then deepen my relationship with Spencer? What are other people I can meet on my travels? Like, and I also like, have friends that I can call who really inspire me, who just a virtual check-in, like how can I reinvest and show gratitude for those friends? And so that was like a remembering, if you will, being the catalyst, as I like to say, of being that best travel companion for myself, and then also nurturing the friendships, even if from afar, and like letting friends know how much I love and appreciate them. If I don't even if I can't catch them for like an hour-long phone call, can I send them a voice note? Can I let them know during the holidays or on New Year's, like how much they mean to me, which I always love sending voice notes to clients and sharing like reflections on how much I love them because I fucking love my clients. I love my coaching clients and friends and people who have impacted me. So it's like I set aside time December 23rd, right before all the Christmas and Hanukkah festivities kicked off. And I spent a lot of time just sending people voice notes that I love and getting those messages back was just like such a nice little reminder of like watering the seeds, watering what is. Okay, guys, I think, gosh, is that most of it for my 2024 wrapped? I mean, I think so. And I think like the last thing I'll say for 2024, and then I'll go into what my word for 2025 is and kind of help you guys do the same, is, I think the other thing is like always having a growth mentality. This year, I feel like I did grow in a lot of ways, and I am really proud of like how I showed up consistently for like powerful stuff each week with these episodes, each Monday for Best Morning Ever during the summer season, each month for powerful stuff, hosting events, how I showed up for each upgrade, right? I hosted 4 upgrades this year and the upgrade mastermind. So I feel like this year, was a great year for consistency. But what I realized is, what makes me feel even better is once I nail that consistency, growth. Like, how can I make it even better, right? How can I make Best Morning Ever even better? Who could I partner with? How could I improve my back end? How could I continue to innovate on Powerful Stuff's podcast? And how could I make these podcast episodes even better for you? How could I like systematize powerful stuff so I can just focus on the creation part of what I love, and like have someone else or have AI cut up all my clips and like put like the bite-sized pieces into the world. And so I think that that's something that I realized this year that I want to do more of like, and like the year before last year, I got my ACC credential from the International Coaching Federation. So I was really proud of that in 2023. And I think in 2024, what I realized is like I want to keep growing every year. Like I want to keep learning a new modality, not to like collect badges, but like to keep growing, to keep offering my clients an even better service, to keep my own curiosity of my own self-healing abilities like quenched, and not doing it because I feel like I have to, but really finding something. And it doesn't have to be like a certification, right? It could be like doing like a 2-week guitar intensive, but doing something each year where I feel like I've really like upped a skill. I don't think I prioritize that as much in 2024 as I did in 2023. So I'd like to bring that into 2025 because I also feel like really having a clear vision and excitement around what that is. Like I'll stop, I won't scroll as much, and I'll just feel like more inspired and energized, and like I'm constantly evolving. So people are constantly meeting new sides of me because I'm constantly meeting new sides of me. So I think that is one. And then I also think that, yeah, it's really like the growth piece for me. Like with the upgrade, I've been leading at 9 cohorts, and a few cohorts in, I made a Notion portal for each client with my husband's help, Spencer. Okay, last shout out Spencer. I've been saying I want to make a digital course of the upgrade and scale it for a very long time. And so I think that it's like, okay, it's my 9th cohort. Like I know I have a great product. So let me take a little bit of extra time to do that and to be able to offer the upgrade to more people because it has changed so many lives. And I would love to be able to do that. So I think looking to 2025, I really do want to lean into growth more and curiosity and kind of the opposite of expectation, which brings me to my word for 2025, which is embrace. Spencer and ChatGPT helped me come up with it. I'm so much more a fan of picking words for the year or intentions or feelings. So you can continue to lean into more of that versus a goal, which you could either fail at or succeed at, right? It's kind of getting us out of that high achiever mentality of like the new year of setting ourselves up for expectation of if we hit it or not versus just like a way of being to think about. And so mine is embrace because as you know, last year was a big year of continuing to surrender expectation and return to the gratitude of what is, like so much to be grateful for everything that I talked about, the expectation. For all the things that I like struggled with expectation, there's like so much to be grateful for. And if I lose the expectation, the gratitude of like my whole Burning Man experience and going with such great new friends who I freaking love and are like new lifers, if you will, and like releasing the expectation of like the trip, like I can really enjoy like the beautiful medicine ceremony we had in Peru, all the amazing people that we've already met, the great world wonders that we've gotten to see, because we saw Machu Picchu and Corcovado, and we also saw Iguazu Falls, which is a new 7th world wonder, allegedly. Anyway, so embrace for 2025 really signifies like active acceptance, if you will, active acceptance of the things that I might have resistance around, and embracing each thing like, oh, this was meant to happen. Best decision ever. And if I'm going to expect anything, let me expect magic, right? If I'm embracing it, I'm going in full Meredith, full force. Let's do this versus like expectation is like setting myself up to be disappointed and setting that kind of inner Eeyore Meredith up to be like, see, I told you so, like, meh, meh. But I love that Meredith too. And I hope you love your inner Eeyore adjacent. But bless their hearts. So all of that's to say, that's my word of 2025. And then now that I have the word, I'm really going to think of like what I'm going to map it backwards to kind of give myself ideas of what it would look like, right? In reverse, like what would it have looked like to embrace those things at Burning Man? What would it have looked like to embrace those parts of the trip that I had expectation around? How would that have shifted my internal experience? How might I have shown up differently? What would some of those actual actions of embracing look like? And how would I feel in that? And I like reverse engineering it just to kind of, and not to say like those things, oh, I wish they played out differently, but just to kind of give your mind a map of like what that could look like in a real time scenario. So then when you're presented with a similar scenario, you're like, okay, I've like visioned this before. I got this. Like, how does this look? How does this feel? And so for so then I'm going to do that first, and then I'm going to kind of like, vision toward like, what does embracing look like for 2025? What are the kind of like loose things I want to step into, or like loose milestones? Because I do think goal setting is still good, but kind of keeping it maybe a little bit more broad, and then having some tactical reverse engineered steps that you could take to get there. So it's more input focused versus output focused. And so I'll like make those kind of broad milestones for 2025 of like, if I could maybe do one or two things by the end of 2025, what would they be? And then reverse engineering that around what are those aligned actions that I could take each quarter that compound and build on each other? And how would embracing like, the challenges look like? Like maybe, foreseeing if things go this way or this way or this way, what would embracing that look like? So then I'm not tied to one thing unfolding a certain way, but I can start to like embrace it for the full, spectrum of what it could be. And how does that Meredith show up? How does she feel when she's in that full embrace of that? So that's the formula, guys. So to cut through all the noise, I'm going to tell you how to do it. I'll recap my learnings now. I'll tell you how to do it, and then we'll go into our little medi. Sound good? Okay. So yeah, my first lessons, I think, was around compounding, right? Like, how are the different things in your life all tied together with a golden thread? What is that one main mission statement that ties them together? Where do you maybe feel like your energy is fragmented or compartmentalized? And how could you bring those things together? How could you infuse them with more energy, right? And that was kind of like my more of that example. And then similarly with more of that of like, checking in with your intention. If something does feel stagnant or something does feel unsaid, what is the fear around saying it? How could you mitigate that fear? What is the best case scenario feel like on the other side? How do you want to feel on the other side of having this discussion, while remaining open to whatever outcome? And then acknowledging and celebrating and cherishing and honoring, what was, so you can step into what is, like having that closing ceremonies or letting go ceremony. And then how am I going to funnel that energy into what I want to create next? And so that was the first thing. Expectation was the second, right? So, noticing, where am I holding too tightly on control? What do I fear, right? Noticing that scared part of you, or that part of you that just wants to give you the best time ever. What do they fear? And then how do we want to just feel? How do we want to feel if this thing were to unfold perfectly? And how can we allow ourselves to tap into that feeling right now, without that thing needing to happen? How can we tap into it right now? And then what were the other ones? Cultivating your own belonging, right? Versus seeking it from others. So what can you do to feel connected to yourself? And then how could you also be the catalyst for the community you want to create? So rather than looking or seeing who invited who without you, how can you create the events that you would want to be invited to, and invite the people that you're excited to get close to? And notice if part of you is holding on to that feeling or desire for connection, like how can you give that to yourself first? And then my last thing, which was kind of what I want to do more of in 2025, which is like the growth and curiosity piece. So how can you continue to grow or iterate if you feel like you are in a routine or you are getting stagnant? What is like something that would slightly stretch you in that area, or a new hobby or skill that you could take up so you do feel like you're in that beginner mindset, or that state of allowance, or that sponge-like state of possibility? And then my word for 2025, is embrace. And so for me, that looks like embracing the good, the bad, the ugly, and making it all, from a state of non-judgment, and reverse engineering it, reverse mapping it, if you will, through maybe some pivotal moments of 2024, how that would have looked different if you had, maybe embodied that word, so you can give your subconscious an idea of what that could look or feel like. And then mapping it into the future. So what are a few milestones that you want to hit in 2025, and how would it feel to be imbued with this energy, this word? What would that look like? How might your action shift? How might you be even more embodied in this word? What are some things you could do daily, or weekly, to really step into the essence of this word? And yeah, so those are kind of the main things. And so I would say the first step with all of that is to start by just acknowledging your lessons from 2024. What were the lessons? Like, what were the big pivotal things that happened in 2024? And what were some of the quiet shifts over time? Uh, what did you learn from those? And how do you plan on integrating them? So, what are my lessons from 2024? What did I learn from them? How do I plan to integrate them in 2025? Step one. And then step two is finding that word or that essence or that mantra for 2025, mapping it onto those moments in 2024, noticing how it might have shifted you internally or externally, and then mapping it into the future. How can you embody it, not just in your daily routine, but in reverse engineering some of these milestones from 2025? So you feel like set up for success just by these inputs versus like something needing to happen a certain way. Wow, guys, it's so funny as always, because I thought this was going to be a 15-minute episode, and here we are at 40 minutes and 10 seconds. Oh my gosh. Wow. We could talk for hours. So let's go ahead and just dive straight into our Medi, shall we? And then we'll wrap this bad boy up. We'll bring it home. 2024, powerful year, powerful stuff, some would say. Okay, so just taking a deep breath and reaching both hands up, feeling expansive as you stretch your hands up. Exhale, bring both hands down to prayer, down through heart center, creating that one stream of energy. Second breath in, exactly the same, breathing up, rooting down through your hips as you lift up through your spine, expanding. Exhale, hands to heart, coming down through center. And then third and deepest breath in, breathe in through your nose, holding at the top, feeling both of your palms touch, and exhale, one straight energy line shooting down through your prayer into heart center, breathing everything down and out. And then keeping that nice, slow, steady breath, breathing in and exhale, breathing in and exhale. And imagine you're in this beautiful space in your heart, like it has this beautiful, sacred white dome in your heart space, traveling there now, bringing all of your energy there. And as you breathe into it, imagine you come to this beautiful fountain at the middle of this dome. And you look into this fountain and you see you from the beginning of the year. Noticing how you've shifted from then to now. Noticing the energy of that version of you. And then you're going to ask that version of you to show you in the fountain's reflection a few scenes. We'll go through them one by one that have really helped integrate lessons of this year. So asking them to show you that first scene of a lesson that you learned this year. Maybe it was something you were already doing that was positively reinforced, or maybe it was a lesson or a learning to integrate and take with you. Just noticing the scene, noticing who's in the scene, how it plays out. Noticing the stories you were telling yourself at the time. And then asking yourself, what was that lesson that I learned? How am I taking that lesson with me? Letting that you in the fountain speak. How can I integrate this lesson? Maybe getting a flash of how you've already integrated it since the time of it happening, how you'll continue to integrate it, and allowing that knowing of that integration rooting you even deeper into yourself. And then splashing the water from this vision onto your face to really integrate it, feeling that cool water wash over you, allowing it to lift you even taller. And after the water has settled from that splash, noticing one more pivotal scene from 2024 where you learned a different lesson. And again, maybe it's something you're really proud of that was positively reinforced. Or maybe it was another integration moment. Maybe it was a big pivotal moment, or maybe it was a quiet moment where something really clicked. Just noticing what scene's unfolding. Similarly, who else is in the scene? And what those stories were that you were telling yourself at the time. And then noticing or asking yourself in that scene, how can you continue to integrate those lessons into this next year? Thanking them, and then once again, bringing the water to your face, splashing your face, really integrating this lesson, feeling it wash over you, sitting up a little taller, bringing a smile to your lips as you feel the cool water on your face. And as you look back at the fountain, you notice it's stilled to show you a word or an essence or an intention for 2025. Trusting whatever word or essence or intention that is. And once again, as you take your hands and you splash that water over yourself, feeling the essence of that word integrate in every fiber of your being, in every cell of your body. Feeling yourself really vibrate with the word down from your toes to your knees to your hips. Feeling that word vibrate up your stomach, to your heart, to your collarbones, to your throat, to the crown of your head, to your elbows, to your wrists, to your fingertips. And as you're fully embodied in the word, looking back down at the fountain, asking it to replay one of those two scenes, but this time you get to watch it unfold, really embodied in this essence or intention of your 2025 word. So noticing that energy of you in the scene, how it shifts. When you're embodied in this word, notice how the stories internally might have shifted as well. Notice how then that scene plays out a little differently. Notice how it might impact or elevate you and then other people in the scene. Zoom out and notice how it might create a ripple effect in other parts of your life, fully embodied in this word. Now, having seen this past scene play out, embodied in this present and future essence of this word for 2025, one more time, splash your face with that water, feeling the truth of that start to really imprint in your muscle memory, of your subconscious muscle memory. And as the water seals and stills, see a scene now in the water in 2025 where you're doing what you love. Maybe you're taking a new big swing in a certain area of life, personally or professionally. Maybe you're really stepping into something that you know you're ready for, and see you really embody this word in the scene. So you really embody this essence. How does that version of you approach this thing, this swing, this action from that energy of your word or your intention for 2025? How does that create this inner conviction, this inner magnetism that helps things unfold with a sense of ease? And how do you feel so empowered in yourself in this scene? How do you feel in this scene watching it unfold 2025? And how does you having that energy magnetize other people, other opportunities? How does it uplift other people? Zooming out, how does it create a ripple to other parts of your life in 2025, approaching this one thing with that energy? Really feeling that excitement brew in you. And as it zoomed out, feel like it's zooming back into your face of that future you, so tapped into their feeling, so tapped into their word, and asking them, what is the perfect thing that you could do this week as you transition from 2024 to 2025 to take aligned action on that? What's one thing that you could do to start to get into that energy, even if it seems like it's not directly exactly related? Trusting whatever they say, what is that one thing that you could do? Making a silent internal commitment to yourself. Yes, I will do this. It is done. I trust myself. And then thanking that 2023 into 2024 you for showing up and for bringing you to this moment where you're listening to powerful stuff, reflecting on your year, and thanking that future version of you for being a guiding light, for holding the torch where you're ready to go, taking a deep breath in and exhale everything out. Another deep breath in. Hold at the top and then exhale out, feeling that word just wash over you once more. And then third and deepest breath in, bringing the wisdom of that word into this present moment right here, right now. Exhaling it out. Slowly opening your eyes, coming back into this space. Wow. I'm so excited to hear what your word is or your essence and how the past or future scene played out. Please, guys, nothing makes me happier than hearing how powerful stuff has impacted you this year, or how this episode, what your word is, what it's bringing up for you. So please shoot me an email, me@themeredithbaker.com. Tell me, or if you had a favorite episode or episodes that you want to hear more of, or topics you want to hear more of. I would absolutely love to take your input into the new year. I do this for you. I want to make it the most powerful ever. So let me know how it resonates and how we can continue to make it more powerful. And send this episode to a friend who you want a vision with, or you know that they're thinking deeply about their year ahead and you want to make sure they have the most powerful year ever. I'm so excited to see how it plays out for you. And I can't wait to do 2025 with you. We've been on such a ride for 2024. Remember last year, I was in Sedona in Arizona recording the 2024 Wisdom Wrap. And here we are in Brazil together. Yeah, it's been so great, so powerful. Well, thank you all for tuning in, and have an amazing new year. Like I said, can't wait to hear your word. And yeah, as a reminder, take those lessons from 2024, celebrate how you've grown. Think of that word for 2025, or hopefully it already came to you in this meditation. Play it back into those 2024 situations, and then play it forward into those 2025 situations, and start doing something this week right now that can get you into that energy. Thank you all, and I will see you next week for more powerful stuff. Hey, you. Thank you for coming on this powerful journey with me. I hope it was as powerful for you as it was for me. And if it was, it would mean the world to me if you rate, review, and subscribe to Powerful Stuff so I can keep bringing you the goods. We can keep going on this transformative journey together. And if there's powerful stuff that you want to share with me, with the Powerful Stuff community, tag us on Instagram @That's Powerful Stuff or The Meredith Baker. And I look forward to seeing you next week for more powerful stuff.